everyone, and welcome to another episode of OnePittsfield with Mayor Marchetti. Today, we will be joined by City Council President Peter White to recap 2024. But before we get into our conversation, I wanted to update you on what's happened since our last show. So in the last 2 weeks, we were packed with holiday events, and I was able to spend some time downtown, including our Small Business Saturday, where I visited many of our downtown retailers and restaurants, the annual holiday tree lighting and festive frolic. Just following the tree lighting, I was able to join one of my favorite events of the year, the annual wreath art auction at the Liechtenstein Center for the Arts. All the proceeds from this event are donated to the South Community Food Pantry. So, I'm like most people. I never really think about donating to an organization. So when there's an event that takes place, it's always great to show up and be able to make the donation and have fun at an event as well. If you're looking to find out what's happening this holiday season, make sure you check out lovepittsfield.com for a listing of all the upcoming events for this holiday season. On December 2nd, I was invited to participate in the groundbreaking ceremony with Hearthway to celebrate the start of construction on 3 new housing developments. Altogether, there'll be 37 units of permanent supportive housing that have just started construction. 9 units will be at the Zion Lutheran Church. 28 units will be built as new construction on a parcel of land located on West Housatonic Street. In addition to all that, Zion Lutheran Church will also be the host to a new housing resource center that provides amenities such as mailboxes, a quiet lounge area, a tech area for computers and phone charging stations, a commercial kitchen, a community room, laundry facilities, lockers, bathrooms with showers, an office and consulting space, all stuff that we take for advantage, but our homeless population is looking for and desperately needs. All of these projects help the city have more options to serve most in need, and we have much more work ahead. I look forward to seeing these projects come to life. I was also able to spend a day with my colleagues across the Commonwealth with mayors this past week, and it's always great to get together with the Mass Municipal Mayors Association and be able to talk about the homeless situation or trash collection or all the other issues that each municipality has faced. It's great to be able to have a conversation about the pitfalls that other communities have fallen into so that as we begin to unleash something, we don't make those same mistakes. Just want to remind folks of some upcoming events. The Women of Color Giving Circle and the Rite of Passage and Empowerment will be hosting their annual Kwanzaa celebration on December 28th, 6 p.m. at Zion Lutheran Church. And also there's a Hanukkah celebration and menorah lighting as part of Radiant Lights at Hancock Shaker Village on December 29th at 6 p.m. Advanced purchase of tickets are required for that event. Meetings that we attended over the last couple of weeks, I was able to attend the City Council's Subcommittee on Finance as we began a conversation of the Berkshire Carousel donation. The committee has a desire for me to create a committee to further discuss the donation, weighing both pros and cons before a final decision is made. More to come in the final weeks. I know this is a topic that will garner much conversation, and even after the airing of the Finance Committee, we received some emails of folks saying they would be interested in serving on that committee. So I look forward to being able to establish that committee. As a reminder, if your business or organization is celebrating a special milestone or other exciting news, we're pleased to share that information on this show. You can just send an email to mayor's office at cityofpittsfield.org, and we'll be sure to recognize you as part of our regular show. For the December 10th meeting, I have submitted several items for consideration. I have 3 appointments. One, a replacement of Jim Clark as the Council of Aging Director at the Senior Center. As folks know, earlier this year, he ventured back into being Director of Veteran Services. So we've been looking for a person to take his place, and I'm happy to announce that Jennifer Reynolds will be stepping in at the beginning of 2025 to take on the position of Director of Council on Aging and Senior Center. And Jennifer comes to us both as the current Director of Council on Aging in Berniston, but also a pretty lengthy career in Council on Aging and senior stuff at Amherst. So we look forward to welcoming her. Also, we're going to do something that hasn't happened in the city of Pittsfield in almost 9 years. We are going to hire a full-time city solicitor that will be in City Hall Monday through Friday while City Hall is open, and he will also be working on meetings and such. And I'm happy to announce that we've been able to obtain a local person who's moved away, but not that far away. Devin Grierson is being nominated to become our next city solicitor. He currently is the associate city solicitor for Springfield and is looking forward to coming back to the Berkshires. And lastly, for appointments, Jesse LaPlante to the Animal Control Commission. We've had some folks over the last year express their concerns of the workload of being on the Animal Control Commission, and so we've had some resignations, and we thank them for their service and look forward to Jesse's appointment. There are a couple grants that are coming forward also at this meeting. The first is from the Mass Executive Office of Public Safety and Security for the Violence Against Women Act, the STOP grant, and that is for $64,763.75. We have a grant from the Mass Cultural Council for the Cultural District grant for $15,000. A grant from the Mass Executive Office of Administration and Finance, Mass Office of Disability for the Municipal ADA Improvement Grant for $40,000, and a grant from the Department of Conservation and Recreation for boat monitors at City Lakes during the summer of 2025, and that is for $18,000. We are also asking the council to approve an assignment of lease lot 4 at Westwood Center from Leonard Gigliotti to the Leonard Gigliotti Trust. At this meeting, we'll also be providing our last and final 2024 update of ARPA grant situation, and also on the agenda, which I'm sure will garner a lot of attention as well, is the report back from finance for the mayor to create a subcommittee or a committee to weigh the pros and cons of the Berkshire Carousel. That's where we've been the last couple weeks, and all the exciting events that we've been able to do. So now, I thought it would be a good idea to invite my friend, the council president, in for our final show of 2024. I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to recap our first roles and our years and our new roles. And so, Pete, before we go too far, let's just kind of talk about my flip of the tongue. Hey, I hope I didn't create really large shoes for you to fill in the new role. And I know that in my taking on the mayorship, as much as I thought, well, we could hit the ground running and be great, and I think we did, there were issues that popped up on a regular basis that I was like, geez, no one told me about something like that. I didn't realize that I needed to sit on the BRTA advisory board or appoint someone there. I didn't realize that I was, quote unquote, the CEO of the Berkshire Regional Employment Board. So there were some things that crept into being mayor that I didn't know existed. And you had a lengthy time on the council, but I'm sure there were things that popped up that you were like, hey, no one told me about this.
Oh, there were definitely things. And thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure to watch this show, listening to residents talk about how they're feeling more communicated with through it. But yeah, as council president, there's been several things that have popped up. Working with various clerks of committees, also, putting the committees together in the beginning, but then just certain council rules that, I feel like I've been pretty well versed in the council rules, but there are things that are kind of unwritten that we've done over the years that we've started having some discussions on why do we do this. So those have been the things that have, surprised me the most. There are a few different responsibilities that come along being with the Berkshire Athenaeum board and things like that are kind of, wasn't expecting. But yeah, as much as I was prepared, there are always curveballs being thrown.
Well, and I could say that even in my 8th year as being council president, there was always something that popped up that you didn't expect. And, I think that's why it's important to have a vice president of the council that while you're trying to keep order of a meeting and make sure that you are figuring out how many times someone spoke, because you'll be told if you let someone speak a third time. So while you're trying to do that and then keep track of 41 council rules, and then also keep track of, a kind of odd parliamentary procedures where most of us know what Robert's rules are, but we have to, choose a weird parliamentary procedures. And
Yeah, using Demeter's rules of order is definitely something that, when somebody's coming on to the council is a big change if they're used to Robert's rules. And they're not vastly different, but there's enough to where you can't look things up on the internet. You can't Google Demeter's very easily to find things. And it's also been one of the things I found in the council president role of, being a mentor to new councilors, being able to get to know councilors who've been on longer, better throughout this role, working with the chairs of committees, just to, navigate those hidden rules that we'll one day figure out, why do we accept a report and then vote on the order? And if you don't accept the report, can you really vote on the order? We're kind of questioning all kinds of little things, which, definitely big shoes to fill, but it's nice still having you around when that question pops up of, okay, what do we do before this type of public hearing?
right.
So it's been nice working with you.
Well, I mean, I think that as I kind of talked about at the finance subcommittee meeting, when you bring forth an issue that I'm not really sure should create so much controversy as talking about the carousel, but what I heard during the campaign and what I've heard during the last year is they want more conversation. They want to know what's going on. And so I think conversation is good. I think that teamwork is good. And I think we all have to know our roles and responsibilities. And I have a job to do. The city council has a job to do. The school committee has a job to do. And so I think that we have to kind of focus on that. So as part of this show, it's been a little bit different because for the most part, I've been inviting department heads or Rebecca Breen from Downtown Pittsfield Inc. But during that time, we've also kind of tried to make this personal, right? We're the people that are serving and just trying to make people, and I know that you're pretty well known in the community, but I want to give you the opportunity to talk about you, what your day life is like, what your night life is like, and why the city council, and maybe at the end of that tell folks how you became the council president, because there's a process for that to happen.
My day life is taken up by my day job with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, working for Massability, helping people find jobs, and then trying to catch lunches in downtown Pittsfield when I can. If I'm off, maybe venturing out into a little bit further regions of Pittsfield and the Berkshires. Nightlife, if there's not a meeting, I'll often still be, seeing city folks out at all the events we have in the community. The tree lighting obviously is always one of the best things of the year, as well as coming up the Kwanzaa event. It's really providing resources with both jobs that I have. So, I wake up in the morning, I listen to local radio, see what's going on, and then at night, go to a lot of meetings. And then, as I said, when I'm not in meetings, really just trying to enjoy all we offer here, trying to catch plays, trying to catch live local music or comedy, and there's usually more things going on than there's time to do.
So,
and you also mentioned becoming council president. That's a process where at the first meeting of the year after we're elected, after we're sworn in, the council members elect one of their members to become the president and vice president, and it was an honor to be chosen by my colleagues to facilitate meetings, to put agendas together, to choose who's on what subcommittee, and really try to guide us for these 2 years that I have as council president.
And I look back over that time frame and setting committee assignments, subcommittee assignments, is a challenge all in itself. I have, in my tenure of being council president, I have had those that say, give me the committees that are the easiest, and then I have the ones that say, I want finance, ordinance and rules, and public works. or add the Community and Economic Development Subcommittee. And, with subcommittee members only being 5 and everybody wanting the big ones for the most part, it's difficult to kind of create that. And you don't have a large time frame in which to create those. So between Inauguration Day and your first official meeting could be as short as 1 day or as long as 7 days. And so there's not a lot of time there to kind of put that together. How was that experience?
I think it was definitely one of the most challenging things within your first day or two to be looking at, and I benefited from having been vice president when you were president of the council, so I got to see the process a little. But seeing the asks coming in, some councilors I thought for sure they would want to be on this committee, but they said no, that's the last thing I'd want to be on, and then trying to choose which councilors wanted to be chairs. You either had everyone wanting to be the chair of one thing or no one wanting to be the chair of something else. We have some committees that don't meet as often, which I'd like to see those used more. But it was a process of, kind of like trial by fire, getting to know people a little bit quicker, being able to survey what they want, and then also having to make some tough decisions of, I know everyone wants this, but we only have certain amounts of committees to give out, and we only have a certain number of chairmanships. But, I just thank everyone for working with me through the process, and definitely went through quite a few sheets of paper on trying not to make mistakes of too many people being on a committee, or, one counselor having too many or not enough committees.
I remember those days well and don't envy that position any longer. So, I think one of the common places for mayor, city council, school committee is constituent service. And a lot of times when we're doing constituent service, folks don't really know, where do they reach out to first? And sometimes even as a new counselor, where do you go? What department do you call? Where do you go? And, when I started my first term as a city councilor in 2002, 2003, it was a lot different than today with the social media platforms and all the engagement. So, how do you manage dealing with constituent services and with all kidding aside, and I know you get a lot of this, you're the social media king of Pittsfield when it comes time to posting social media stuff, and it obviously works for you. I struggle, and thanks to my administrative team, we're able to have a mayor page and a city hall page, but that's not my forte. So talk to me about how you handle constituent services, and a lot of yours is the social media platform.
Well, I think the first thing is letting residents know that you're never bothering a city councilor by reaching out to us. This is why we took on the roles, to be that liaison between what constituents' needs are and trying to find solutions to that, because usually as soon as you get a phone call, I'm sorry to bother you. And I'm like, no, you're not bothering us. Who to contact first. If it's a neighborhood issue, I try to encourage people to reach out to their ward counselor, because that ward counselor is probably getting more phone calls on that super localized issue. I know I did as the Ward 2 counselor when I first began this. And then if it's more of a broad issue, or you don't know who your ward counselor is, or you just don't know where the question goes, contact an at-large counselor. I also find, and have always found, the mayor's office to be a great resource if you need something done maybe a little faster, because many counselors have day jobs and we can't be checking our phones all day during the day. And then with social media, I just always found it easier to answer 100 people or 1,000 people at once with something on social media than rather one email at a time or one phone call at a time. It's gotten a little bit more difficult with new rules, trying to use a council page that Facebook has set up as not as friendly to communicate with people. So I do still have some people contacting me on my regular page, try to send them over. But now we're quite lucky with the mayor's office and city hall pages, putting out so much more information that really, as a counselor, to get information out, we're usually sharing the updates that have already been put on the city hall Pittsfield page, which has been a great relief. And that's why I don't copy and paste something that your team puts together, because I want them to know that they can go directly to the source. You don't have to necessarily follow my pages anymore, because most of the information I'm getting directly from the City Hall Pittsfield page, because it's really become the best resource out there. And then, if you leave a comment or a message there, you're getting answers from the people who can, get to it the fastest. And for legislative things you want to see changed, contact your counselor and we'll work with the mayor's office or department heads to get it done. But I've been very happy with the way social media has been embraced by your administration.
That's not me, right?
I know it's not you, but it's still,
that's not me.
You create the culture.
Well, and so, I think I want to touch there, right? We've tried to make communication the focal point, and I sometimes feel that people are critical, and sometimes not fully critical because they don't know all of the facts. And we also like to do a lot of comparing, right? Well, Peter Marchetti's page is not to the level that Pete White's page is, and how come? But when you do comparisons, I think you also have to make sure that you're doing equal-footed comparisons, right? So in this year, there's been a lot of comparisons of what Mayor Marchetti has done in terms of what former Mayor Tyre has done. And I always find those to be unfair, because what are you judging? Are you judging year one of Mayor Tyre to year one of Mayor Marchetti, or are you dealing with year 8 of Mayor Tyre to year 1 of Mayor Marchetti? And those aren't the same circumstances, right? You haven't been in office for 8 years. You didn't go through a pandemic. There's a lot of facts there. So when folks want to start comparing us, they really got to look at a wider comparison. So I think you started to allude with legislative changes of kind of where to go and how to do it. And, I think it takes a team. And when I say it takes a team, I know there's folks out there that are going, yeah, it takes a rubber stamp city council. That's not what I'm talking about, right? And so during this year, and, we can talk about the process of trash and recycling changes. It wasn't a short process at all. It might have been a short process for the members of the city council, but the members of the city council made it very clear that they wanted a lot of public meetings pre them voting on it, and then the communication post. And so, let's talk about the relationship really needed between the mayor and the city council to be productive and provide stuff. And that doesn't mean that the city council says yes all the time, right? We can talk about Berkshire Carousel. I think every member of the city council wants to say yes, and every member of the city council wants to say no. So they're in a position right now of how to do that. But, we began a dialogue at the Finance Committee meeting that I think will continue for a period of time. So, in your opinion, what's the relationship need to be, and in order to push forward? I think there's give and take and there's compromise.
We need to be able to have honest communication. The two of us have had several disagreements over the years that we just don't make into giant public things, but it's always comes from a place of trying to understand where the other one is coming from. And, using the carousel, for example, you had no problem with us giving the leeway of taking a little bit more time, sending it to subcommittee, having that longer discussion, and you gave us the respect of not initially just saying no to it coming to us at all, which, would have been in your purview. We were able to discuss it through. We were able to ask questions. You reached out to counselors, said, please send me your questions so I can try to find answers. Because I don't think it works when we have anyone trying to do a gotcha question the night of a meeting when it may have come up, they knew about it, they didn't have the wherewithal to send it through. There are questions that come up, and we're not trying to stifle discussion, But we know that department heads need time to come up with answers. You need time to come up with answers. You've had a pretty open door policy with all of us, and you've reached out to us on the hard issues. And with trash and recycling, something we've been dealing with for way longer than this council. So a lot of the discussions have already been out there. Mayor Tyre tried very hard, put a very good plan together. Didn't work for toters, and then me, you, and Councilor Persitt put a plan for bags out there. And once that was out there, hey, that Mayor Tyre toter plan sounded really good. So we were able to start that discussion easier. But we got to have good communication between the two, like all of us.
Well, and I think that's part of it, right? I mean, it was the day of the Finance Committee meeting, and I get an email from Carson Kressley, and I'm kind of like, this can't be real. This can't be real. And so the next day I sent back saying, well, I struggled at Finance Committee because there's a lot of unanswered questions. And so I'd love to be able to follow up on a conversation that the carousel needs an endowment. What do you mean? Where do I go? How do I do this? And then yesterday I was out of town at a mayor's conference, but the person who has the connection to Carson Kressley sent me an email, and I had already sent back an email to Carson Kressley, and we're going to set up a Zoom to be talking about how a public actor can come to Pittsfield and potentially provide us with a solution. And if we hadn't had that dialogue, we wouldn't be able to be engaging in these conversations. And so I think it's important for us, when something comes forward, it doesn't necessarily mean that the city councilor that put it forward or that the mayor that's putting it forward is married to the idea, maybe married to the concept and what came forward and what finishes, with trash. The mayor chose 48-gallon totes. The city council could have said 64. I was pushing 48 because of the $500,000 worth of savings. You guys could have said 64, and I would have said, okay, we're changing the way of garbage, but we're not really saving any money, and so what's the purpose? But those conversations were taking place live in meetings, and so I think that's important. So unfortunately, this show's 30 minutes, and it goes by extremely quickly. I want to thank you for coming onto the show, and thank you for your partnership. The corner office is one piece, and you've learned quickly that there's three elected bodies in government, and it's a little bit difficult to make sure all three of us are on the same page, working in the same direction sometimes. And so kudos to you for working with the school committee chair to establish some meetings to kind of put that back on the proper track. Any final last-minute words for the folks at home?
Really just want to say I hope everyone has happy holidays, whatever they celebrate. If they don't celebrate anything, just have a happy winter. And thank you for your partnership and, really working with everyone. And, I think it's been nice working with the school committee as well, because we do need to make sure that the three branches of government in Pittsfield work together.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. So, folks, just want to say thanks for tuning in. I want you to consider shopping locally in our downtown during the holiday season, and enjoy our restaurants while you're in your travels doing your shopping. As we do not have another episode for the new year, I want to wish everyone a happy and healthy holiday season, and we'll see you in 2025. President White, thank you for joining me, and for all you at home, thanks for joining in today.